What's the first thing that comes to your mind that you feel like you need to do as a new father?
Is just be here right now to support my wife and just be present with him.
So, what do you think men should prepare for?
One of the first things you can do, I think, and I'll say this, children are to be had within marriage, right?
Absolutely.
Ideally.
I love it.
So the first thing was preparing to be a husband.
But if you wanted to leave a message to him and you want him to know something about that, what's that one thing you want him to know? All right, family, listen, we back for another interview. We got a real good brother of mine. Listen, we've been through a few things, you know what I mean? Just learning each other and growing and things of that nature and building a real good relationship. So I wanted to introduce you guys to him and just tap into his heart and his mind about fatherhood. So tell the people your name, man.
I'm Julius Jones.
All right, Julius.
Yeah.
And how many kids you got, man?
One son who's 10 days old today.
10 days old. Wow.
Yep.
Brand new father. I absolutely love it. I don't even know if I remember those days.
I'm loving it right now too.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So what do you do for a living, man?
I'm a photographer and an inventor here in New York City.
Okay. Awesome. NYC. Wow. What's the first thing that comes to your mind about what you need to do as a new father?
Say is just be here right now to support my wife and just be present with him and learn him, figure out his tendencies, his cues, But on the largest scale, there's definitely this personal pressure or personal desire to go out and conquer and figure out how to continue succeeding, but also kind of create a life for him, that the best that I can. So I think what's heavy in my mind, of course, is income, housing, food, just thinking about all the necessities that I need to provide for him.
Yeah. No, man, I absolutely love that, man, because no matter who I talk to, man, whether it's a father who has, kids that are 30, 40, years old, or yourself, the common theme that keeps coming back is being there. Just absolutely being there. That presence is key. So, man, I absolutely appreciate that because you have a very, very unique perspective now because, all fathers, have had their children at a certain age, but, in this century, in this day and time, things definitely can be different for you. So I definitely appreciate that, man. I guess my next question is what, since becoming a father, not even 2 weeks yet. Wow. I'm going to keep going back to that day, but not even 2 weeks yet.
10 days,
What has,
yeah.
Fatherhood changed about how you move? Since you've been, and I know you said supporting the wife and being there, but has anything changed about how you move? It could be the simplest thing. It could be something large. What has changed about how you move as a father?
I think first, I guess to kind of connect it, it would be one, I'm an uncle, I think 20 times over.
Right.
Caring for kids and loving my nieces and nephews has always been one of my favorite things. But then there is this, once I met my son, the minute he was born, it's like love at first sight.
Yeah.
And it's I finally understand what parents always think. My dad will tell me, my brother, my sister will tell me, you understand when you have your own. And I think there's a connection and a love that you can't explain, that you can't have with a niece or a nephew, right? It's not the same thing. As much as you love them. So I think what's changed for me is, I think when looking at him, I feel even more selfless. I always felt protective of my nieces and nephews. I always looked out for them. But there's just, I think, naturally something different about having your own child. That kind of wakes up this love inside of you. Nothing feels too much. If I gotta wake up at 1 or 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to change a diaper or whatever it is, it's just I gotta do that. It doesn't feel like a burden. It just feels all right, this is what he needs right now. And I think all of me is willing to sacrifice, myself. And I think that seems small, but I think as I'm going through this process with my wife of learning his patterns, again, feeding, helping her change and helping soothe him, just on that small scale, I feel this desire to sacrifice myself, I guess,
Yeah.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, it makes
Like,
perfect
it's
sense, man.
like
It
your
makes perfect
sleep
sense.
and your own desires, whatever it is. So I
Yeah.
think that'll only grow larger. Because like
Absolutely.
again, with nieces and nephews, you can say, oh, I'm not gonna do that this time, right?
Right. Oh, they can go
But
home. They get to go home.
yeah, exactly. Right. But I think with your own child, you know, I guess you get to choose, but
Yeah.
for me, I'll probably always choose.
Yeah. Man,
Yeah.
that's absolutely powerful because, whether we say it or not, I think most fathers who are just in the pocket there, the sacrifice is almost like it's second nature. It's almost like breathing because it's one of those things where I know I got to do it, so I'm gonna get it done. It just is what it is. Like, man, so that's what I hear you saying, man. That's powerful. That's really really powerful. I wanted to touch on something you mentioned though too, about your own father. The
Mm.
question I have for you is, now that you're a dad, how does it make you, or has it changed how you see your own father? Has that changed at all,
Mm.
or do you see it in a deeper light, or anything like that? Tell me a little bit about that, seeing your own father. Listen, family, if you're enjoying these conversations, take a second to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss future conversations. Now let's get back to the interview.
I mean, I don't think it changed too much because,
Okay.
you know, he's always kind of tried to explain what it feels like to be a father. Like whenever
Yeah.
certain things are happening, he's like, oh, you get it when you have your own. Like, so like he'll
Right.
always say that. And even like as a son, as I got older, I would look at him and be like, oh wow, seeing me at 30 years old must be like a crazy experience as a dad to see your son
Right.
grow up and get married and do this and do that. So I think I've always kind of had that kind of insight.
Yeah.
But the one place where I understand him more is just like that immediate bond that you have with the child that you cannot understand without having been there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No, I appreciate that, man, because I think that's the way it should be, right? Like you're talking about how your dad prepared you, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
obviously you're never 100% ready, but what you're talking about is how your dad put you in a position where it wasn't so overwhelming or such a shock when when your little one came, that he
yeah, hundred
prepared you
percent.
enough to say, okay, this is what you should be, this is what you'll see, this is what you, some of the things that should be looking for. I love that, man, because I think that's a generational thing that sometimes we miss, man. Sometimes, some
Yeah,
of us who may have not had their father or things of that nature, we're kind of, I would
yeah.
even say, we're starting behind the eight ball a little bit. So I absolutely implore you and your father, man. That's awesome, man.
I would even say really quick to add
Yeah.
to it is like even like my dad hates when he hates us driving. So it's something that he's always just like, I don't like it. Obviously, like he has no choice, but
Right.
he hates to hear that we're on the road or like he will wait till you get home. If you're like if you leave somewhere, you know, we have a thing where we check in. Like he checks in with me, I check in with him. He knows where I'm at, I know where he's at. And it was funny. The first night driving, my son's name is Silas, so driving Silas home
Huh?
the first time, that first left turn felt like life and death. That first left turn felt like I'm like,
Yeah.
oh snap! I was terrified to make that first left turn.
Right. Right. You was
So
on your ten and
yeah, I
twos.
think
You was on your 10 and 2s on the steering wheel,
man,
huh?
I was holding that steering wheel so tight, my back was straight. I'm a New Yorker, so I drive with one hand, right?
Right. Right. Right.
And not
Right.
that night,
Not that night.
not that
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
Um,
That protective
but
mode.
yeah, so it was definitely a thing again. Like I understand
Yeah.
that, like I don't healthy fear, I guess,
Of
like that
course.
desire
Of
to
course.
protect, you know. And I think what comes along with that too is also realizing, and my dad makes this clear, is that I'm not always going to be able to protect him. I'm not
Yeah.
always going to be there, you know, for the little, like for every little thing that he may need to be shielded from. I can't do it. It's not possible. So I also
Absolutely.
have to come to terms with that as a father and accept my limits, my limitations. So.
Yeah. No, man, that's absolutely powerful. And again, I love your particular perspective, man, because I want to ask you this question, like and I know you think very deeply. You're one of those men that think very deeply. So what does it look like? What kind of family standard do you foresee yourself having, now, and as, especially with your kids and with your wife, because it's a it's a unit, it's a family unit, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what kind of family standard, now that you have your son, do you see yourself like implementing, or something new that you want to start, or something that's been passed down? What kind of family standard do you think you see
Mm-hmm.
yourself having?
I think the first thing that comes to my mind as you're asking the question is, I think developing a culture of kindness for him.
Mm, mm,
And first and foremost, we are believers and we follow Christ.
absolutely.
So that is definitely the first thing, like having scripture implanted in his heart, letting him learn, growing him up to know who Jesus Christ is,
Yeah.
the salvation that is offered through Christ and the grace of Christ. But I think in that, developing a culture of kindness. My wife and I have been saying, like, when you're looking at him, smile. Don't just look at him with a straight face, right? Like,
Right. Right.
so he can kind of mimic, he can kind of learn how and like develop that second nature. And I think there are some challenges culturally that we have because again, we're New Yorkers and
Right.
I'm Caribbean, my wife is Nigerian, and it's not like these are not cultures that are necessarily known for, or like, there's some rough and tumble stuff in there. And obviously I want him to develop like a thick skin and develop, the ability to understand that the world's not perfect,
Right.
but I think I want him to develop those things in a more structured way. So again, having a culture of kindness where we speak to each other. Well, obviously we can joke. I joke around a lot. I'm gonna have to also manage that, like even
Yeah.
teasing or like gaffing a little bit too much with
Right.
him. And that's something my dad do a lot. My dad and I, we don't take anything serious. We're always like we're like cutthroat, but it's just jokes, like back and forth. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah. The family
like I'll
culture.
chop him
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Exactly, he'll chop me down. We love it. I really do enjoy it. But at the same time, I think I want him to be a little more prudent, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Because even the scripture says, like, put aside coarse jesting, right? So like,
Yeah.
there's a limit to how much we should be joking, and there's a limit to how much we should make fun of things or light of things. And we're not
Sure.
perfect,
Right.
but I don't want I want to do my best to set a good example for him to like where those limits might lie.
Yeah.
And in regards to like developing toughness in a different way, like as New York, you develop toughness by going through and like things being said to you, and just having certain experiences. But um, he can also develop toughness by being put in martial arts from a young age, right?
Absolutely.
And I think creating more structure around his development is something I would like to do, and not just like he's tough because he went to public school and just had to
Right.
learn it, right? Like I want him to be tough because
Yep.
he can control himself,
Mm.
right? And he's learned specific
Mm.
things, specific like control tactics, controlled like he learned in a controlled environment how to be tough. And of course,
Yeah.
there's going to be a balance of that. You're going to have to experience the world, but at least I want to equip him with the tools to manage the world and manage the things of the world that are not kind, right? Not
Right.
just throw him to the wolves and he has to figure it out how a lot of us did,
No,
especially coming from New York. Yeah.
yeah, no, I appreciate that, man, because what I hear you talking about is complete, like the best way you can, providing balance. Like you want your son to be balanced in those very specific areas, raising them to the best of your ability. And I love that because, like you said, there's a healthy level of toughness, the level of kindness, and then how do you balance that? Because life experiences are going to bring you through certain things that you may not expect. But how are you gonna raise him to handle himself, man? I
Yeah.
really do appreciate that, because I think we need more of
Yeah.
that, honestly.
Yeah,
What
for sure.
Yeah, so what do you think, and you're uniquely positioned to answer this one, so what do you think men should prepare for, or how do you think they should prepare before they become fathers? What are some things you think that men should do before they become
Mm,
fathers to prepare themselves? And even what did you
mm.
do? It doesn't have to be as broad. It could just be some things that you're like, yo, before my son came, and even while he was, kind of in the oven there, what were some things that you were preparing yourself for?
I think one of the first things you can do, I think, and I'll say this, children are to be had within marriage, right?
Absolutely.
Ideally.
I love it.
So the first thing was preparing to be a husband, you
Mm,
know.
mm, yeah,
So when my wife and I were dating, we spent a lot of time reading scripture together, spent a
yeah,
lot of time listening to like Paul Washer and Vadi Bakum on marriage,
right.
and kind of like cultivating the heart of a husband and the heart of a wife and self-evaluating, right? Like, where do I stand in this? Like me, I'm very stubborn. I can be impatient.
Right.
I'm aware of those things. And so that's one thing, which
Yeah,
is, again, preparing yourself to be a spouse, because a good spouse will be a good parent,
man, I
right?
love that. Yeah.
And then in regards to fatherhood, again, I think evaluating myself, like,
Hmm.
where am I now? Like, what do I believe?
Yeah.
How have I been acting,
Right.
right? Like in the months leading up to
What's your temperament, right? Yeah. Like
what's
how
my
you,
temperament right
yeah,
now,
yeah.
right? And then I think after that, I would say preparing for what it's going to be like mentally to be a
Mm,
parent. Like, again, we spoke about
mm,
sacrifice. No, like being fully aware that, like, I'm going to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning for the next however many months,
mm.
right? Being fully aware that I'm gonna have to change diapers, and then while I'm changing the diaper, he's gonna pee on me and poop on me while I'm doing it, or that
Right.
he's gonna be screaming his lungs out. Like, just being fully uh, aware and not like hiding or trying to like deny what's coming. Because
Gotcha.
if you know it's coming, then you can respond well to whatever inputs that's coming to your way. So I think just being realistic with yourself. Who am I? Who do I want to be? And then what am I about to face, and how do I prepare myself to enter into that? Well,
Nah, that's powerful, man. Cause
yeah,
you're light years away from, you're light years ahead of a lot of fathers, man. Just the fact that you said the foundation is being a husband, man. That's powerful. That's so powerful. Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I think that we don't even think about the what that means because
yeah,
I said it. I think I said it even a couple of last interviews. I was like, we can't even be the best fathers we need to be without being, in a relationship with our wife. You know what I mean? We can't even be
right,
the best
right,
fathers that we can be trying to do the thing alone or whatever the case may be. So man, I absolutely love it. So
yeah.
last question for you, man. Last question for you.
Okay,
And
shoot.
it might be a little touchy, but you let me know. God forbid something happens to you today or tomorrow, and you want to leave a message, to your son, and you want him to know something
Mm.
about dad, right? Because obviously he's still learning now, right? Still learning you, learning your wife. But if you wanted to leave a message to him and you want him to know something about dad, what's that one thing you want him to know?
I mean, I think the easy answer is just that I love you. That's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's
yeah,
probably the most important thing. If it's the last thing he's gonna hear from me or
yeah.
about me, is that
Right.
I loved you unconditionally, even in these 10 days. Yeah,
And obviously even the 9 months preceding, right? You was
yeah,
loving
right.
them. You was loving them. So I really appreciate that, man, because sometimes that's all it is. That's all it is, I love you. I want you to know that I love you. Man, I
Yeah,
appreciate it, Jules, man. You've
yeah.
been
It's a
you
pleasure,
broke some
bro.
stuff
Thanks for
down, man.
asking.
You broke some stuff down for us. So listen, y'all, if y'all love this kind of content, if y'all want to hear more about what it takes to be a father and what it is to be a new father or an old father, tap in, listen, like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see y'all at the next interview. Peace.
Peace.